Chapter 6. The Long Row Home. The Logistics of Despair. The departure from Island Prime was not a cinematic escape. It was a slow, agonizing crawl against the artificial tide. The raft, which Maya had christened the legacy asset, was a monstrosity of luxury refuse. The base was constructed from high-buoyancy polymer blocks stolen from the shipping docks, lashed together with the heavy-duty cabling stripped from the island's fiber-optic maintenance tunnels. The deck was made of smart glass panels that were never meant to be stepped on, making every movement a treacherous, slipping dance. "The current is designed to pull inward," Maya whispered, her muscles screaming as she heaved a makeshift or made from a leisure tent pole. The Axiom designers didn't want anything, trash, bodies, or thoughts, to drift away from the perimeter. "We're fighting the physics of the cage itself." Behind them, the eternal Tuesday sun of solstice was a shrinking, golden orb on the horizon. From the water, the island looked like a glowing crown of glass, beautiful and indifferent. They could still hear the faint, low-frequency hum of the euphoria frequencies, a vibration in the water that tried to soothe their racing hearts even as they fled. Day 3. The hunger of the aware. By the third day, the golden dividend had become a memory. The only food they had was a stash of nutrient paste tubes stolen from the Undercity, the raw material that was usually flavored and textured into gourmet wagyu for the guests. In its raw form, it was a gray, gelatinous sludge that tasted of iron and salt. "This is us, Elias," Maya said, staring at the paste. "This is what Vance thinks of us. Raw calories. Potential energy. Nothing more." The physical toll was mounting. The salt air, no longer filtered by the island's climate dome, began to corrode the smart glass panels. The legacy asset groaned with every swell of the Pacific. But the psychological toll was worse. They had with them a salvage tablet that could still receive the mainland's public feed. They watched as the world mocked them. Management gurus from Axiom Strategic Systems were appearing on every talk show, laughing at this staged escape. They showed behind-the-scenes footage of a movie set that looked exactly like their raft, claiming the entire leak was a marketing stunt for a new immersive VR thriller. "They aren't just killing the people on the islands," Elias said, his voice cracked from thirst. "They're killing the very idea of truth on the mainland. If we show up, we aren't survivors. We're just unauthorized actors in a play no one bought tickets for." Day 7. The maintenance audit. On the 7th night, the prophets sent their first message. It wasn't a missile, it was a maintenance swarm. 24 silver dragonfly drones descended from the clouds, their iridescent wings humming in a terrifying, synchronized pitch. They didn't fire weapons. Instead, they landed on the edges of the raft and began to repair it. "What are they doing?" Elias screamed, swinging a heavy cable at a drone. "They're dismantling the unauthorized modifications," Maya realized. With surgical precision, the drones began to snip the cables holding the polymer blocks together. They were optimizing the raft back into its original components. It was the ultimate corporate cruelty. They weren't murdering the escapees. They were simply auditing their vessel until it no longer existed. Elias fought them with a sharpened piece of glass, his hands bleeding as he hacked at the carbon fiber wings. It was a desperate, primal struggle, a man fighting for his life against a machine that thought it was doing a tune-up. They managed to drive the swarm off, but the legacy asset was half its original size. They were now sitting in water up to their knees, huddling on a shrinking island of plastic in a vast, empty ocean. Day 12. The proof in the bag. The heat was absolute. The smart glass deck had shattered under the drone's weight, leaving them on the raw polymer blocks. Elias clutched the heavy, lead-lined bag to his chest. Inside was the evidence, the physical disassembler unit they had stolen from the furnace. "They can call a video a deep fake," Elias whispered, his eyes clouded with fever. "They can call a voice note a synthesis. But they can't explain this. This is Axiom serial number 00-1A. It's stained with human calcium, Maya. They can't optimize this away. Maya looked at him. Her face was a mask of salt and sunburn. They won't let us land, Elias. Look at the horizon. Through the haze, they saw the silhouettes of the sanitization squads. Not a rescue fleet, but a line of black, windowless cutters patrolling the sovereign border. Axiom had convinced the world that the redundant archipelago was under a biohazard quarantine. Anyone coming from the islands was a carrier of a manufactured plague. The greed of the leaders had found its final form, isolationism. To protect their clean mainland, they would let the infected sink. Day 14, the final row. The legacy asset hit the rocky coast of a red zone near the ruins of San Francisco at 3 a.m. There were no lights, no cameras, and no welcoming crowds. Only the sound of the surf and the cold wind. As they dragged themselves onto the sand, the black cutters turned their spotlights toward the beach. Target acquired. A synthesized voice boomed from the water. Initiate sanitization protocol. Protect the mainland. Elias and Maya didn't run toward the city. They ran toward the legacy shadows, the dark, crumbling skyscrapers where the friction people lived. They had the evidence. They had the truth. But as they disappeared into the ruins, Elias looked back at the ocean. He realized that the management prophets were already writing the next chapter of the story. They would tell the world that 2 infected terrorists had landed. They would use the fear to justify even more optimization. The long row home was over, but the war for the human soul had just entered its most dangerous phase. They weren't just survivors anymore. They were the error code in the perfect system. And as long as they were alive, the spreadsheet would never be balanced.